Surprisingly, a commercial airplane equipped with advanced technology suddenly disappeared 35 years ago and reappears now with a chilling scene. And then there's the mysterious disappearance of a man following an in-flight extortion. These are just two of the most baffling mysteries in aviation's strange and unbelievable incidents. Join us as we explore 15 mysterious stories of missing flights, uncover puzzling disappearances, and examine the lingering questions they leave behind. Number 1. Flight JL50. In a startling turn of events, a routine search mission for a downed aircraft in West Bengal led to an entirely unexpected discovery. Instead of locating the wreckage they were after, rescue teams stumbled upon the remains of a long-lost aircraft that had vanished into thin air more than 3 decades ago. What made the find even more strange was what lay inside the wreckage: 92 skeletal remains of passengers who had once boarded the doomed flight. Even more astonishing, 2 individuals were found in a comatose state. Investigators quickly pieced together a theory. The flight had been hijacked by inexperienced individuals who lost control of the aircraft. Unable to navigate or stabilize the plane, the hijackers inadvertently sent it crashing into the wilderness, sealing the fate of everyone on board. If discovering a vanished plane decades later wasn't strange enough, what if someone survived a plane exploding at 33,000 feet? Number 2. Vesna Vulović. Surviving a plane crash is rare, but Vesna Vulović defied all odds. In January 1972, JAT Flight 367, a McDonnell Douglas DC-9, exploded mid-air over Srbska Kamenice, Czechoslovakia, at an altitude of 33,000 feet. The aircraft disintegrated, resulting in the death of 27 of the 28 people on board. Vesna, a 22-year-old flight attendant, was trapped in the tail section, pinned by a food cart. As the wreckage plummeted, it struck a snow-covered forested slope, softening the impact just enough for her to survive. Rescuers found her critically injured. She remained in a coma for 27 days but made a full recovery, despite the suspected presence of a bomb planted by Croatian nationalists. The true cause of the explosion remains a mystery. Vesna later returned to work for the airline in a desk position and still holds the Guinness World Record for surviving the highest fall without a parachute. Her survival remains one of aviation's most astonishing miracles. Surviving against impossible odds is one thing, but what about an entire plane vanishing mid-flight, only to leave behind a cryptic final message that no one can decode? Number 3. Stardust CS-59. On August 2, 1947, British South American Airways Flight CS-59, an Avro-Lancastrian aircraft registered as GAGWH and named Stardust, vanished while flying from Buenos Aires, Argentina to Santiago, Chile, over the Andes Mountains. The passengers were an intriguing mix: businessmen, a diplomat carrying confidential documents, and a traveler rumored to be smuggling diamonds. The flight, led by an experienced crew, was expected to be routine, but just before its scheduled arrival, a cryptic Morse code message was transmitted: STENDEC, repeated 3 times before radio silence. A massive search by the Chilean and Argentine military found nothing, fueling wild theories, including extraterrestrial abduction. Then, in 1998, mountaineers discovered the aircraft's engine nearly 50 miles east of Santiago. Later expeditions uncovered wreckage, human remains, and landing gear, confirmed through DNA analysis. Despite these findings, what caused the crash remains a mystery that may never be solved. Some aviation mysteries leave behind wreckage and remains, but others raise an even more question: what happens when a plane flies for hours with no one at the controls? Number 4. Flight 522, Helios. The crash of Helios Airways Flight 522 is one of the most aviation accidents of the 21st century. A routine flight from Larnaca, Cyprus to Prague, Czech Republic ended in tragedy when the aircraft crashed near Grammatico, Greece. Just 5 minutes after takeoff, a cockpit alarm sounded, but the crew dismissed it, mistaking it for a routine warning. As the Boeing 737 climbed past 18,000 feet, oxygen masks deployed, yet no response came from the pilots. By 33,000 feet, hypoxia had rendered everyone on board unconscious. The plane continued on autopilot until Greek Air Force F-16 fighter jets intercepted it. The captain's seat was empty, the co-pilot was motionless, and a lone flight attendant, using an oxygen supply, entered the cockpit. But with fuel depleted, the aircraft glided powerlessly before crashing into the mountainside. All 121 people on board perished, and Helios Airways soon went bankrupt. The incident remains one of aviation's greatest incidents. Vanishing flights aren't just a thing of the past. Even in an era of satellites and advanced radar, some aircraft simply disappear, leaving no answers, just theories. But before we continue, I have a special 10-second request for all of you listening. If you can help me in any way, just press the notification bell and hit that subscribe button. It means the world. It really supports this channel, and if you do that for me, I promise my team and I will do everything we can to make this show even better for you. Deal? Number 5. Malaysia Airlines Flight 370. The disappearance of Malaysia Airlines Flight 370 remains one of the greatest aviation mysteries of the 21st century. Despite modern tracking technology, the plane vanished without a trace, leaving behind more questions than answers. On March 8, 2014, Flight MH370 departed Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, for Beijing, China, carrying 227 passengers and 12 crew members. As it approached Vietnamese airspace, its transponder was manually turned off and the aircraft suddenly changed course. Soon after, it disappeared from radar, sparking an unprecedented global search. Experts concluded the plane likely crashed into the Indian Ocean, south of Australia, but the exact cause remains unknown. Theories range from mechanical failure and hijacking to deliberate pilot action, as evidence suggests manual interference with the flight path and communication systems. Despite extensive searches, only a few debris fragments have been found. To this day, the fuselage and black box remain missing, keeping the fate of Flight 370 an unsolved aviation enigma. Some flights disappear forever, but others make history for a very different reason. What happens when a hijacker vanishes mid-air with a bag of cash, never to be seen again? Stay tuned. Number 6. D.B. Cooper. In 1971, an unidentified hijacker pulled off one of aviation's greatest unsolved crimes, the D.B. Cooper case. His true identity and fate remain unknown. On November 24th, a man dressed in a business suit and black tie boarded Northwest Orient Airlines Flight 305 from Portland, Oregon to Seattle, Washington. Mid-flight, he claimed to have a bomb and demanded $200,000 in ransom and 4 parachutes. Authorities complied, handing over the money when the plane landed. After releasing the passengers, Cooper ordered the flight crew to take off toward Mexico City, flying low at 10,000 feet with the landing gear extended. Then, somewhere over the Pacific Northwest, he parachuted into the night with the money. Despite an extensive FBI search, he was never found. Only a few ransom bills were later discovered near the Columbia River, adding to the mystery. Though a woman recently claimed to be Cooper's niece, his true identity and fate remain unknown. If you were D.B. Cooper and had just pulled off the most legendary plane heist in history, where would you disappear to, and how would you stay hidden for over 50 years? Let us know in the comments below. Number 7. Flight 311, Thai Airways. On July 31, 1992, an Airbus A310 took off from Bangkok, Thailand, heading for Kathmandu, Nepal. With towering Himalayas around the airport and no radar system at the time, precise navigation was critical. Early in the flight, flap issues forced a go-around, leading to a series of miscommunications between the crew and an inexperienced air traffic controller. The ground proximity warning system later activated, but the crew dismissed it as a malfunction. By the time they realized the danger, it was too late. The aircraft crashed into a mountain at 11,500 feet, disintegrating on impact. All 113 passengers and crew perished, leaving only wreckage and a dark scar on the rock face. The incident remains a reminder of how communication errors can turn dangerous in aviation. Number 8. Boeing B-47. One of the most baffling disappearances in military aviation occurred on March 10, 1956, when a Boeing B-47 Stratojet vanished over the Mediterranean Sea, taking its crew and a highly sensitive payload with it. The bomber had departed from a Florida airbase, heading for Morocco, with scheduled aerial refuelings along the way. The first went smoothly. However, during the second refueling, the tanker crew failed to locate the aircraft. No distress signals, no wreckage, and no trace of the three-man crew were ever found. What made this disappearance even more alarming was its classified cargo: 2 capsules of nuclear bomb material. While not capable of detonating on its own, the material was a key component in nuclear weapons production. This led to speculation. Did the plane accidentally crash, get intercepted, or deliberately vanish? Despite extensive military searches, no evidence ever surfaced. To this day, the fate of Flight B-47 remains one of the most unsolved aviation mysteries. When a plane nosedives from cruising altitude at near supersonic speed, one question remains: was it mechanical failure or something far more sinister? Number 9. Egypt Airlines 990. On October 31, 1999, Flight 990, a Boeing 767, departed Los Angeles, California, for Cairo, Egypt, with a scheduled stop in New York City. Roughly 30 minutes after takeoff, as the plane reached 33,000 feet, it suddenly plunged to 16,000 feet at near supersonic speed before briefly stabilizing. Moments later, it vanished from the radar and crashed into the Atlantic Ocean, killing all 217 people on board. The investigation quickly became a diplomatic standoff. While Egyptian authorities blamed mechanical failure, U.S. investigators suggested the first officer may have intentionally downed the plane. Adding to the controversy, his last recorded words were, "I rely on God." Reports revealed he had recently been demoted, and on board that flight was the supervisor responsible for his demotion. Was this a tragic mechanical failure or an act of revenge? With Egypt blocking the FBI from the investigation, the full truth may never be known. What if a plane didn't just crash but simply ceased to exist, leaving no trace behind? Stay tuned. Number 10. Pacific Airlines Flight 355. On July 21, 1951, Flight 355, operated by the Canadian airline Pacific Western, took off from Vancouver, Canada, bound for Tokyo, Japan. On board were 37 people, including crew members. The flight was scheduled for a brief stop in Alaska just 45 minutes after departure, but it never arrived. As soon as the plane failed to check in, authorities launched an extensive search operation, scouring the icy landscapes of the North Pacific. Given the weather conditions, the general assumption was that the aircraft had crashed on ice, but 3 months of relentless searching turned up nothing. What made the case even more suspicious was the lack of distress signals or communication. It was as if the plane had simply ceased to exist. Most passengers were military personnel from the United States and Canada, fueling speculation that something more was at play. To this day, neither the wreckage nor any remains have ever been found, making Flight 355 one of aviation's greatest mysteries. Number 11. Kenya Airlines, Flight 5- On May 5, 2007, A series of critical mistakes led to the incident crash of Kenya Airways Flight 507, a disaster that could have been prevented. The Boeing 737 had successfully completed its first leg from Abidjan, Côte d'Ivoire, before stopping in Douala, Cameroon, en route to Nairobi, Kenya. That night, heavy storms caused delays for all departing flights, but 52-year-old Captain Francis Mayu made a decision. Ignoring standard procedures and without clearance, he took off into the storm. At just 1,000 feet, the situation spiraled out of control. The autopilot failed to engage, but neither pilot noticed. As the plane tilted dangerously to the right, the crew reacted too late. Severe spatial disorientation set in, and the aircraft entered a spin, crashing into a mangrove swamp. Investigators determined the crash was entirely avoidable, citing pilot error, poor decision-making, and failure to recognize critical flight conditions. A few minutes of patience could have saved every life on board, making this incident a lesson in the importance of situational awareness. Number 12. AirAsia 8501. Two flights, AirAsia Flight 850 UN and Air France Flight 447, serve as reminders of how a chain of errors can lead to incident. On December 28, 2014, AirAsia Flight 8501 departed Surabaya, Indonesia, for Singapore. About 40 minutes into the flight, the Airbus A320 vanished from radar over the Java Sea, carrying 162 people. Despite an immediate search operation, only 116 bodies were recovered, with the rest lost to the depths. Investigators determined that a faulty control system prompted the captain to reset the onboard computer, but miscommunication in the cockpit led to loss of control. Similarly, on June 1, 2009, Air France Flight 447 and Airbus A330 disappeared while flying from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil to Paris, France. The aircraft encountered a severe storm over the Atlantic Ocean, and its speed sensors froze, sending conflicting data to the pilots. Confused and unable to regain control, the crew made critical errors, causing the aircraft to stall and plunge into the ocean. It took over 2 years to recover the wreckage and flight recorders, making it the accident in Air France's history and the worst involving an Airbus A330. Both crashes serve as proof that even the most advanced technology is vulnerable to human error and unpredictable conditions. If you were a passenger on a flight and noticed something was wrong, would you trust the pilots to handle it, or would you try to alert the crew? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe and follow the channel to discover more interesting things. Number 13. Flight 712 Aer Lingus. More than 55 years after the mysterious crash of Aer Lingus Flight 712, investigators remain no closer to uncovering the truth. On March 24, 1968, a Vickers Viscount aircraft departed Cork, Ireland for London Heathrow, a short and routine flight that should have taken just over 1 hour. But something went wrong. The aircraft's final transmission reported an abrupt descent to 11,500 feet, followed by radio silence. Air traffic control instructed another plane nearby to search for Flight 712, but it had vanished. Later, wreckage was discovered about 6 miles off the coast of Tuskar Rock, yet the exact cause of the crash remains unknown. One theory suggests a bird strike, as migrating swans were active in the region, but this alone would not explain the catastrophic failure. A more controversial possibility points to military involvement. The British warship HMS Penelope was conducting exercises in the area, raising speculation that the plane was mistaken for a spy aircraft and accidentally shot down. Suspiciously, all records from the ship's log for that date vanished, fueling conspiracy theories. Number 14. The Stowaway. Many have dreamed of sneaking onto a plane for an adventure, but for one 15-year-old boy, this reckless decision became a real-life survival story. To see his mother in Africa, he ran away from his home in California. bypassed airport security, and hid inside the wheel well of an aircraft. However, he had no idea that the flight was not bound for Africa, but Hawaii. His 5-hour journey at an altitude of 38,000 feet, in the wheel compartment, temperatures plummet to -60 degrees Fahrenheit, and oxygen levels are critically low. Most stowaways do not survive, yet when the plane landed in Maui, stunned airport staff saw the boy emerge from the landing gear alive. Doctors called it a medical miracle. He admitted to losing consciousness multiple times, but experts believed that hypoxia-induced unconsciousness may have slowed his metabolism, allowing him to survive the extreme conditions. While his youth may have been a factor, aviation experts stress that such a stunt is almost always for the worst results. Number 15, Flight 967, Varig. On January 30, 1979, Varig Flight 967 departed Tokyo, Japan, bound for Los Angeles, California. Piloting the aircraft was 55-year-old Captain Gilberto Araujo da Silva, an experienced Brazilian pilot who had previously survived an emergency landing. However, approximately 300 miles off Japan's coast, all communication abruptly ceased. What makes this case even more suspicious is the valuable cargo on board: 50 paintings by Manabu Mabe, a renowned Brazilian-Japanese artist, worth over $1 million. No distress signals were sent, no unusual activity was observed, and not a single piece of wreckage was ever found. Some theories suggest an elaborate art heist, while others speculate that the plane strayed into Soviet airspace and was shot down, yet no calls for help were ever made. A sudden decompression might have left everyone on board unconscious before the plane crashed into the Pacific Ocean, but extensive searches yielded nothing. To this day, not a single trace of Flight 967, its 6 crew members, or its priceless cargo has ever been recovered, making it one of aviation's most perplexing mysteries. If you enjoyed today's video, please give it a like, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Your support means a lot to us. Click on the video that appears on your screen right now. I'm sure you'll love this content. Comment below about the next topic you'd like to see featured on our channel. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks for being with us. Leave a comment, like to show your support, and remember to hit that subscribe button for more exciting videos. See you next time.